Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call to order this Tuesday, January 30th meeting of the Pierce County Council. The time is 3:03 p.m. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Campbell.
Here.
Councilmember Krueger.
Here.
Councilmember Denson.
Here.
Councilmember Herrera.
Here.
Councilmember Hitchin.
Here.
Councilmember Morrell.
Here.
And Councilmember Mello.
Here.
There are 7 members present, Mr. Chair.
We have all 7 members present and a quorum. Item number 3 is our Pledge of Allegiance to the flag and our land acknowledgement. Please join us in listening to the land acknowledgement and Pledge of Allegiance to the flag led by Councilmember Herrera, followed by a moment of silence dedicated to the 3 U.S. soldiers who lost their lives in the drone attack in Jordan on Sunday, as well as the more than 40 service members who were injured in that attack. Councilmember Herrera.
We acknowledge that we are on the traditional homelands of the Coast Salish tribes. Coast Salish people have lived on and stewarded these lands since time immemorial and continue to do so today. We recognize that this land acknowledgement is one small step towards true allyship, and we commit to the uplifting voices, experiences, and histories of the indigenous people of this land. Ladies and gentlemen, I invite all of you to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We are now at section 4 of our agenda, which is the approval of the agenda. Are there any objections to approving today's agenda as presented? Seeing no objection, the agenda is approved. On today's council agenda, there will be multiple opportunities for public comment. On the consent agenda, you may provide comment on any final action item this does not include items simply placed on the consent agenda for introduction and scheduling. On today's consent agenda, there are 2 appointment resolutions and 1 motion to approve the use of vacancy savings. Those are available for public comment. And during section 8, we will take public comment on the 1 ordinance on our agenda. And then under community forum, there will be an opportunity to address the council on any topic that is not on today's agenda. For more information on the rules for public participation, please review the bottom of page 1 of today's agenda. So that brings us to section 5, the consent agenda. We now have the consent agenda before us. Does any member wish to pull any item from the consent agenda? Vice Chair Campbell.
Chair, I don't think we have any appointees. Do want to make sure that we don't have online or in person as Sarah Brady. Okay. With that, I would move the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to adopt the consent agenda as presented. This is a public hearing on the final action items on the consent agenda. Any member of the public wish to provide comment on the final action items? We'll start here in the chambers. Anybody here in chambers wishing to provide comment on the consent agenda? Not seeing any. Mr. Weinsbury.
Yes, sir. For any members of the public who wish to provide comment on the final action items, press the raise hand icon in Zoom or star 9 on your telephone keypad. And I see no hands this time, Chair.
Seeing no hands, we'll close the public hearing, bring it back to council. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll on the consent agenda?
Councilmember Krueger.
Aye.
Councilmember Denson.
Aye.
Councilmember Herrera.
Aye.
Councilmember Hitchin.
Aye.
Councilmember Morrell.
Aye.
Councilmember Campbell.
Aye.
And Councilmember Mello.
Aye.
The result of the roll call vote is 7 ayes and 0 nays.
On a vote of 7 ayes and 0 nays, the consent agenda is adopted. There are no messages from the executive, judges, or prosecuting attorney today under Section 6. So that brings us to Section 7, proclamations, recognitions, and awards. Today, the Council is very proud to proclaim February 2024 as Black History Month here in Pierce County, Washington. And with us today to accept this proclamation are several esteemed guests. We're joined by Lau Qasim, chair of the Black Collective, and I see friends from the Black Collective here. We have Mari Griffin, founder of the Black Knight Market, and Janice Lee, our new Chief Executive Officer of the Tacoma Urban League. We'd love to invite all of you to the podium as Councilmember Campbell reads this proclamation into the record. Thank you all for joining us.
And I do believe we are expecting Mari to be online. There she is. Okay. Thank you, Chair. A proclamation of the Pierce County Council proclaiming the month of February 2024 as Black History Month in Pierce County, Washington. Whereas in 1976, President Gerald Ford officially recognized February as Black History Month, calling upon the public to seize the opportunity to honor the too often neglected accomplishment of Black Americans in every area of endeavor throughout our history. And whereas locally we celebrate an extraordinary leader of Pierce County, the late Harold G. Moss, who was the city's first Black council member, 1970, and its mayor, 1994, the first Black Pierce County council member in 1996, and its chair from 2002 to 2004, former president of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, and NAACP Tacoma chapter from 1957 to 1961. And whereas this theme is African Americans and the arts, which recognizes the many impacts Black Americans have had on visual arts, movements, music, and literature, and art is an important cultural touchstone, preserving traditions and empowering communities, and includes movements such as Black artists, Black Renaissance, hip-hop, and Afrofuturism, Black artists such as Alma Thomas, Maya Angelou, Jean-Michel Basquiat, Misty Copeland, Kehinde Wiley, Alvin Ailey, Jimi Hendrix, Octavia Butler, and many more trailblazers of American culture. And whereas the Pierce County Council recognizes the significant contributions, both past and present, of Pierce County's Black and African American community, and encourages all Pierce County residents to use the month of February as an opportunity to explore Black history and gain a greater appreciation for the richness and depth of Black and African American contributions to our communities, our county, our state, and our nation. And whereas, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, Black-owned businesses tend to fail within the first 10 months of opening, so in 2022, Mari Griffin, a local entrepreneur, created the Black Knight Market, an innovative marketplace that highlights Black, Indigenous, and people of color-owned businesses and visual and performing artists. And whereas Griffin noticed that there was a lack of representation of Black vendors at local art and farmers market, and representation tended to only occur during specific holidays or after a tragic event within our community. And it was Griffin's vision to create a pathway for consistent opportunities for Black-owned businesses and artists that led to the creation of the Black Knight Market. And whereas since its inception 2 years ago, the market went from 42 to 130 vendors and almost 2,000 attendees. The Black Knight Market has successfully created consistent opportunities for over 800 Black-owned businesses and was the recipient of 5 local awards. Whereas 212 Black-owned businesses have been supported by the Pierce County Navigator Program, which 105 Black businesses participated in the Business Accelerator Program, and have received approximately 365 hours of business coaching and over $400,000 of professional services grants, and 70% of the participants have raised a total of over $1.4 million in new capital. Whereas the Tacoma Urban League's Black Business Directory makes supporting Black-owned businesses in Pierce County easy with a full directory at www.tulmembers.com, Tacoma Urban League members.com. And whereas residents may join local events that celebrate and recognize Black History Month, and for event details, please visit the Pierce County website, piercecountywa.gov/Black History Month for what's going on in Pierce County. Now, therefore, Be it proclaimed on this, the 30th day of January 2024 by the Pierce County Council that the month of February 2024 is Black History Month in Pierce County, Washington, and all residents are encouraged to join in local special observances and partake in community education and celebration events all across Pierce County.
Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you for joining us to celebrate Black History Month. We would love to hear from you.
I would defer to our newest member from the Urban League, and if it pleases the council, after she speaks, I will go to Wayne Williams.
You're the boss.
I don't have a prepared speech, but I just want to say to the council, thank you so much for recognizing Black History Month. This is really, really important to us. You know, the struggle that we have had throughout the years, marginalized racial barriers that we consistently are still fighting today. And I'm glad that we're recognizing Black History Month to recognize all of our services. We built the White House. They said we built this joint for free. So I just want you all to continue to support our organizations, Black Collective, Tacoma Urban League. We also have E. Wesley. We would love for you to continue to help us to advance the Black community in home ownership, employment, being able to have successful Black businesses in the city. And so I am the new CEO and president of the Tacoma Urban League, and you will be hearing a lot from me. And again, I want to say thank you so much for recognizing us.
Thank you. Welcome to our community, Ms. Lee.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Wayne Williams. So I'd just like to thank the council for the proclamation and joining us in celebrating our local trailblazers. I think it's incredible for the size city Tacoma is, the rich, incredible talent that this city has produced. And for you to recognize it, I think it's a great thing. And there's more to come. I've had the privilege of working with some of you, and I know where the spirit is, and so I look forward to future years.
Thank you, Mr. Williams.
Mr. Chair, if you please, just a moment. I've lived in Pierce County for 56 years, and I've had the opportunity to work in this building. And this council, more than any other council, has been sensitive and appreciative of the contributions of African Americans in this community, and I applaud you. Thank you for recognizing us, the African American community, and our contributions. And we have a lot of work to do, and I'm just looking forward to many more years. I had 56. I don't know if I get 56 more, but as many as I can put on the table to work with you to continue to raise the profile. And my closing comment goes to the Pierce County Economic Development Department. Betty Capistani and her team have just been magnificent. I only wish that we had done as good a job when I was here with the Economic Development Committee as you folks have done under this administration. Thank you so very much.
Thank you for recognizing their work. Thank you, all three of you, for being here in person. Mari Griffin, founder of the Black Night Market, you are in our Zoom room, and we would love to hear from you.
Hello, thank you all. Thank you for recognizing the Black Night Market. It's just so important that we are supporting Black businesses and artists, especially within these spaces. But really, I just want to say thank you guys for recognizing us today.
When's the next Black Night Market?
We have a networking brunch on February 17th at Tacoma Armory. If anyone would like to come and network and connect with our businesses and artists and community members. And then our next night market is February 24th at Mount Tahoma High School from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m.
Thank you. We will add that to our website, if it's not already, as ways many of us can take advantage of celebrating Black History Month. Thank you for being with us. Before we invite you up here to take a photo with us, I would love to hear from if there's any remarks by council members. Let's begin with Councilmember Herrera.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for being here today. It's a good thing we're doing this. You know, Black History Month is American history. It's Pierce County history. It's Tacoma history. And, you know, a lot of us stand on the shoulders of our ancestors. And we gain strength from our ancestors, but we need to talk about it. So I hope that even within families, my colleague here named off a bunch of names of African Americans in this community who've done great things, but there's African Americans that aren't on that list who have done great things here, and that's within our own families, who stood up to things a long time ago when it was a lot harder to do so, maybe in silos and things like that. It's amazing if you start talking to your family. You're part of history, and we have to talk about it, because if we don't talk about it, it's forgotten. And when it comes to the arts, the arts, I've said this before, is a reflection of who people are. We look at what's left of societies like ancient Egypt and other ancient cultures, and what is left is the art, and it tells us something about who the people are. So recognizing the arts is very important, and having everybody included in that is also important. And for the future, to see what we did during our time. So, yes, Black history is American history. It's Tacoma history. It's Pierce County history. So, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember Herrera. Councilmember Denson.
Yes, thank you. And Councilmember Herrera has some excellent points, and I certainly agree with all of them. I want to thank you as well for being here, for all of your hard work and all of your contributions. This council, like you said, we really are invested in righting a lot of the wrongs. We're doing our best to right the wrongs. There's a lot of work to be done, and in particular, investing in Black businesses and Black home ownership as well. And we want to do that work ourselves and in collaboration with their community, and all of your organizations and efforts are really integral in making sure that we're doing the right things in the right ways, so that we can not only help our businesses and help potential homeowners, but doing it in a way that's sustainable over time. And it's not a flash in the pan. We're really building that social capital and the assets over time that are going to help our businesses and our families and communities well into the future. I want to really appreciate all of the ways that your organizations have been so innovative and inspiring. I love the idea of the Black Night Market and the business directory. I mean, clearly your organizations identified a need and a gap, and you found solutions. And I hope that we can be supportive of those solutions. And if there's other efforts that come up, I know there will be in the future, please reach out to us so that we can be a part of making sure all of those efforts are successful. Because together, we're making strides. We know there's a long way to go. I want to thank you for your determination and perseverance, and hope that we can be helpful into the future.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Vice Chair Campbell.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you all very much for coming out and sharing with us. As I was getting ready to read this, I was reflecting on, we talk about continuing education and learning. And I think about my upbringing, small community in Nebraska. What I learned in my history books in Nebraska high school is very different than American history. And I think about all the time I went through school and through college, I never had a teacher or an instructor that was Black. And how much work we've done to change that, how much more work we have to do. But that doesn't mean I wasn't capable of learning. And so I really have to thank the Black Collective and Tacoma Urban League for really, through many social events, gatherings, just inviting me in and just talking with me, that I've learned so much about the history of Pierce County and our nation through proclamations like this, through conversations, through also including me in what you're doing. And that has meant a lot to me, because it has really shown me the value of the contributions of Black Americans in Pierce County, in Washington State, across America. I remember shortly after coming here, meeting with Tom Dixon, and just how he really opened my eyes to so much more to this world. And so thank you for helping teach many of us what our own history is.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vice Chair Campbell. Councilmember Hitchin.
Thank you, Chair. You all have said wonderful things. Usually it goes the other way, so good job. You always I didn't push my light soon enough. I really appreciate the words, though. I think I just want to pause for a second and think about the journey that our county and our community have been on over the last 5-6 years and where we are today. A lot continues to be really challenging. We continue to kind of learn as a community how to heal, how to question, how to continue the dialogue that has to happen, and the leadership of the organizations that are in our community that continue to push and press on making sure those conversations continue through the hard work, the three of you, the NAACP, and a variety of other community groups that are not backing down, that are saying we need to keep talking about this if we truly want change. So thank you. To you, to your membership, to anyone in this community that's doing that hard work. And for everybody else that's engaging in that work and continuing those conversations, thank you, because we will not see change in our community if we don't continue to do the work. So just want to express my appreciation. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jen.
Thank you, Councilmember Hitchin. Councilmember Morrell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A lot of what I was thinking has been said, but just understanding that the dialogue does need to continue. And I know that several of you I call and get those lived experience that I will never have. And, you know, I grew up as a teenager in Tacoma in the mid-'70s. And the change that has taken place has been a lot of hard work from the entire community to make Tacoma a safer, better, more respected community for all of us who lived here. So with that, I appreciate there again what you stand for. And I know that the handoff has got to happen between the older to the younger, and to understand what trails you've had to blaze just to get here. And so we'll continue to work together as a community, and both urban, suburban, and rural areas of this county. I do want to acknowledge economic development for the great interaction that they had in coming up with the accelerator program, the executive for leading the team in that direction. I think definitely award-winning what happened, and I know that some of you were involved in that. And I truly appreciate that. So thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Morrell. Well, then, in closing,
Councilman Morrell, thank you very much. Thank you for our conversations. Thank you for reaching out. And I look to have more coffees with you soon.
thank you, Mr. Qasim. In closing, grateful for you being here to help us celebrate the many years of collaboration. Ms. Lee, welcome to our community.
Thank you.
We look forward to many years of collaboration with you and your leadership at our Tacoma Urban League. We're very proud of the Tacoma Urban League and the very impactful work they've done and will continue to do in this community. I do want to recognize two executive department leaders that are here. Director Capistani, the director of our Economic Development Department, who helps lead a lot of the work that was recognized in the proclamation, including the Business Navigator Program and the award-winning Business Accelerator Program, which you have been champions of and implementers of in partnership with us. Thank you, Dr. Capistani, for being here physically to show how important this is. And also another department leader, Constance White, our Superior Court Clerk, is also here. And thank you, Director White, for being here. This council is more than lip service when it comes to celebrating Black History Month and what we understand to be the needs of our African American and Black community members. It's the evidence is in the Accelerator program and the Navigator program, and helping new entrepreneurs navigate their way to building their dream. It also manifests itself in, as the council signed on last year to be a supporter and endorser very proudly of the Black Home Initiative, a major initiative here in Puget Sound to help new Black homeowners achieve that lifelong dream. It also manifests itself in what the council did to pass the Maureen Howard Affordable Housing Act, and a very clear goal in that Maureen Howard Affordable Housing Act is to reduce the racial wealth gap and the racial home ownership gap. It's a very clearly stated goal in black and white in our bill, and we're going to invest that way. It also manifests itself in the equity note process and how we are overtly really looking at the policies that come in front of us with a racial equity lens very explicitly. So these are just examples. There's many more, but these are examples of how this work all year round, not just celebrating it 1 month a year, how this work carries on to help bring opportunity to more people. Absolutely celebrating our history, learning from our history, but taking those learnings to celebrate our future as well. So thank you very much for being with us. Thank you for your partnership.
Thank you.
And we would love to invite you to come on up here to take a picture with us. We are. Good to see you, Winesberries. Thank you for being with us. We are at section 8 of our agenda, which are ordinances. We have proposal number 2023-75 before us. Councilmember Denson for a motion, please.
Thank you, Chair. I move proposal number 2023-75.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that we adopt proposal 2023-75. Madam Clerk, please read the title into the record.
Proposal number 2023-75, an ordinance of the Pierce County Council relating to the Pierce County Shoreline Master Program, amending Exhibit A to ordinance number 2022-37S, as required by the Washington State Department of Ecology, amending Title 18S of the Pierce County Code, Development Policies and Regulations - Shorelines, and setting an effective date. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kruger to brief the council.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, Council. The proposal before you this afternoon would amend Pierce County's shoreline development policies and regulations in response to the Washington State Department of Ecology's conditional approval of Pierce County's locally initiated shoreline master program amendments that were previously adopted through ordinance number 2022-37S. The amendments contained in this proposal would adopt all recommended and required conditions of approval provided to the county from the Department of Ecology in their October 24th, 2023 conditional approval letter. The specific amendments included in this proposal would adopt a reference to the county's most recently adopted critical area regulation by title. The critical area regulations that have been approved that would apply to the SMP sequentially are eliminated, and so we're only citing to one ordinance, and that was an ecology recommendation. The amendments would clarify that fences are allowed within the standard shoreline buffer or the lake tap setback, but not reduced shoreline buffers or setbacks. So the standard setback would allow for fences. The amendments would maintain the county's existing finfish aquaculture prohibition that applies within the Nisqually Reach Aquatic Reserve. By retaining the existing finfish aquaculture prohibition, we would be eliminating an adopted prohibition for shellfish aquaculture due to the fact that our record did not contain adequate information to establish a new prohibition. So that would go away, but the finfish aquaculture prohibition would be maintained. The proposal would also provide clarification to the locational criteria in the form of a footnote that applies to the prohibition of new piers and docks in approximately 52 miles of marine saltwater shorelines. So that's a technical amendment. It's a new footnote. It helps clarify the regulations that were adopted by council. And then finally, this proposal would repeal and replace pier and dock prohibition maps with new maps that are at a scale that allows the viewer to see the prohibition at a parcel level, a parcel layer level. So it's a larger font, I guess, on the maps. This proposal was considered by the Community and Environment Committee on January 22nd, and the committee forwarded the proposal to the full council with a due pass recommendation, and I would be happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kruger. Are there questions for Mr. Kruger or department staff before we open this up for a public hearing? Do we have department staff on the line? Okay. Councilmember Herrera, did you have a question?
Yes.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Chair. I just had a quick question on what is a good example of this shellfish aquaculture, and how's it?
Thank you, Councilmember Herrera. A good example would be the growing of manila clams, or the growing of oysters or gooey duck.
So, in this thing, that's restricting that part of it,
Finfish.
or just finfish, but it's allowing that.
Correct.
Okay. And finfish is anything like salmon or net pens or anything
Correct.
along those lines?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for the clarification. Councilmember Morel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question is to Mr. Kruger, and it obviously is fences.
Okay.
Can you explain to me what a setback distance would be on lake taps?
It's generally 50 feet, and there is no buffer on lake tap, so there's a standard setback from I believe it's the 542-foot elevation, which is the Cascade Water Alliance's ownership boundary. As you know, that reservoir fluctuates in terms of the shoreline throughout the year, and so the full pool depth is, I believe it's 542 feet above sea level, and that's where the setback is established, and a fence can go within that standard setback.
Can go within that
Correct.
standard. So could it go up to the shoreline?
Good.
Okay, thank you.
It could go up to the 542-foot contour line.
Correct.
Right.
So, because most of the lots on lake taps aren't that deep. So if you have a 100-foot lot and you have to abide by standard setbacks, you would have to then be 50 feet from the Cascade Water high mark
That's correct.
back. But you're saying that in this, can it be closer?
The fence could be.
Okay. And what about the height?
So if the fence is less than, I believe, 6 feet, there is no building permit required. And so as a result, most of those fences are not on the county's radar. If someone wanted to build a fence taller than 6 feet, they would technically need a variance if the fence is on the property line.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I don't see any other, Councilmember Herrera.
One more clarification on the net, on finfish. What was the reasoning on the restriction on the finfish net pen type thing in that specific area there? I know there's different types of net pens. There's commercial for, Atlantic salmon, and we don't like that type of stuff. But there's also hatchery operations that have net pens out that, raise smolts and have them out in saltwater or lakes and things like that, give them a jump on that. Just wondering if it's going to restrict any type of hatchery, tribal or state hatchery opportunities of raising fish in net pens in the area, or what was the intent?
So the intent by council back in the 2018-ish time period was to preclude commercial salmon net pens everywhere south of the Tacoma Narrows due to the reduction in circulation that occurs in that part of Puget Sound. So the way the county code reads is that if you want to do a commercial aquaculture operation for salmon, you can do that in Commencement Bay or up towards Vashon Island, but not south of the Narrows. The Nisqually Reach Aquatic Reserve is a mapped area that's been designated by the State Department of Natural Resources that has additional standards related to preservation and enhancement of the shoreline environment within that area. And so council at that time, in 2018, when our SMP was being updated, adopted an additional restriction, maybe kind of belts and suspenders is the way to look at it, to prohibit finfish aquaculture in that area, as well as to limit shellfish aquaculture to things like native shellfish like the Olympia oyster. So that was the thinking when 2020-237 was adopted by council. Council wanted to go the next step further and limit shellfish aquaculture of all kinds within that Nisqually Reach Aquatic Reserve. That proposal was criticized by the state Department of Natural Resources. They didn't like the idea of the county using their adopted plan for the aquatic reserve as the rationale for a prohibition for certain uses. And so the Department of Ecology has said if the county wants to go down that road, you need to do that in your next update to your SMP and really show your work and show the rationale for having an additional restriction on a water-dependent use in that area, because aquaculture is a preferred water-dependent use under state law.
Thank you for the clarification.
You're welcome.
Great, that's good.
Let's see another hand. So let's open this up for a public hearing on Proposal 2023-75. There are no other members of the public here in chambers, so we're going to move to our Zoom room and see if anybody wishes to provide comment on 2023-75. Mr. Weinsbury.
Yes, sir. For any members of the public who wish to provide comment on proposal number 2023-75, press the raise hand icon in Zoom or *9 on your telephone keypad. And there are no hands at this time, Chair.
Seeing no hands, we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the council. Are there final remarks by council members? Well, thank you, Mr. Kruger, for working with the Department of Ecology to be responsive to their comments back to us on our Shoreline Master Program amendments, making sure they're consistent with state law and can eventually be approved by the Department of Ecology. So it's been a long process, but this is the necessary cleanup in order to receive final adoption by the Department of Ecology. We appreciate the comments we got back and making sure we're being consistent with state law, appropriately protecting natural resources, and protecting the rights of property owners, and also allowing various appropriate uses of the shoreline. So I think this is a really thoughtful balance that balances all of the competing interests in our very valuable shoreline. And appreciate the council's good work on this. And thank you, Mr. Kruger, for helping to shepherd this through a very complicated, convoluted process. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll on 2023-75?
Councilmember Herrera.
Aye.
Councilmember Hitchin.
Aye.
Councilmember Morrell.
Aye.
Councilmember Campbell.
Aye.
Councilmember Kruger.
Nay.
Councilmember Denson.
Aye.
And Councilmember Mello.
Aye.
The result of the roll call vote is 6 ayes and 1 nay.
On a vote of 6 ayes and 1 nay, the ordinance is adopted. There are no resolutions on our agenda today, so that brings us to Section 10, Community Forum. Community Forum is an opportunity for members of the public to address the council on any topic that is of significance to or affecting Pierce County government and that did not appear on today's agenda. There is a 3-minute time limit. We ask you to state your name if you would like it on the record. I'll start with those. There are no members of the public in chambers still, so we're going to go to our Zoom room. Mr. Weinsberry, anybody in our Zoom room for Community Forum?
Yes, sir. For any members of the public who wish to provide comment, press the raise hand icon in Zoom or *9 on your telephone keypad. And there are no hands at this time, Chair.
Seeing no hands for Community Forum, we will close the Community Forum portion of our meeting. And we're going to move to Section 11, Other Business and Announcements. Is there any other business or announcements by council members? Councilmember Hitchin.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to thank the Human Services Department and the various organizations that helped organize the very intensive point-in-time count that was held last weekend. Many of us had the opportunity during the day and in the evening to go out and have conversations with people living on the streets and in various areas across the county. And that took organization. It took donations from community members. It took people standing and putting together the supply bags that we had to provide as we were out in community. And it took a lot of people power willing to do this hard work. So just want to acknowledge and thank the human services staff that led that and all the volunteer organizations and nonprofits that showed up to help make sure we were doing our jobs, because I definitely needed somebody to go with me to go do that work. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you for noting that and offering that recognition and gratitude, Councilor Hitchin. I know I was out with Councilors Denson, Herrera, and Morrell out in Parkland, Spanaway, and South Hill.
You all ended up together?
We all ended up together. And Executive Demeyer was our driver. And so, but it was a good thing. We were a team of 9 of us in this van last Thursday evening, and it was a good thing. I was like, wow, Councilor Denson and I were commenting to each other, like, this is a big team of 9. But it was a good thing we were a big team of 9. I know you were in South Tacoma and Lakewood, Councilor Hitchin. Again, we were in Parkland, Spanaway, and South Hill, and many of the places we went to are where we see folks experiencing homelessness in shopping centers. So many folks living in their car in shopping centers, wooded areas. But we had lots of conversations with folks and doing interviews in the point-in-time count of folks experiencing homelessness, living in their car, and that situation. So that was a lot of our experience. And again, it took 9 of us because, these shopping centers are so large, and we spread out in order to have so many conversations. And just another very impactful evening to hear firsthand about folks experiencing homelessness, why they became homeless in the first place, what their experience is, and what resources and needs they might have to get them to the other side of a more stable situation. So thank you for acknowledging that. Vice Chair Campbell.
Yes, thank you for acknowledging it. And since I wasn't along on the group activity, I went out with I think there was a group of about 4 or 5 of us that went out in the afternoon. We were out in the Hosmer area, going up and down, talking with people about, again, many of the reasons for why they're homeless or where they slept or what they're doing. One gentleman I met last night had slept on the bus, and another young couple that we met that were just, because we were earlier in the day, they were kind of just getting up. And his car broke down 2.5 years ago. He wasn't able to make it to work anymore, got fired from his job. They lost their house, and for 2 years they've been trying to, him and his wife have been homeless together, which means they can't get into a lot of our shelters together. And so in order for them to stay together, they had to stay on the street, which has created challenges for them to find stable employment, stable housing. So I was happy to provide them with materials and hopefully connection points where maybe they can help to find a way out. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councilmember Herrera?
Thank you, Chair. And I'll weigh in on that. Some of the surprises I had was actually going out and coming to the realization of going through some of these communities where we had sweeps already and the camps weren't there anymore. So it really makes you think, like, where did they go? And also, we also see the work that the county is doing. I mean, we get the emails all the time from our constituents on certain camps and things like that. And just so folks know that we got to see some of the results of that. There's not a camp there at Sprinkler anymore. That did happen, and it was done the right way. We went in there and did what we had to do. I can't remember the lady who was leading us, Chair Mello. She's some stakeholder, but she knew who everybody was by name and their situations and things like that. So I really commend the stakeholders who are out there, boots on the ground, that do it every day. We did it for one time and saw it got muddy a little bit and wet, but they do it every day, and I saw how they just know everybody by their first name, and these are people who do things from their heart and stuff like that. So when we have those folks and we have our human services doing what they're doing, we're doing as much as we can. There's a lot to do, more to do, but we're doing some good stuff. And I'll pivot a little bit more here, Chair. I just wanted to thank you for acknowledging the 3 soldiers that lost their lives in Jordan. This is a military county, and when international things happen like that, it really puts folks who are veterans, families, and people who are active duty in our community, and they think about what's happening outside the county, the state, and stuff like that. So I appreciate that. So we things that happen overseas do affect things at home. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Our hearts are heavy for them and their families and the 40 individuals who suffered severe injury because of that attack. Councilor Morrell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll comment, too, about going out the other night for the pit count. I'm grateful for the weather. It was a great night weather-wise out. Been out before in the driving rain, so I was grateful for that. But one of the issues that I thought was somewhat enlightening was, besides having Trish Munson as our leader, who has no problem telling us what she thinks about things. And Trish has been my go-to from the beginning, because Deputy Papin would say she knows what she's doing, compared to some of the other co-responder agencies out there. So Trish, I've always been able, I got her on speed dial, she'll handle anything, and like Councilmember Herrera said, she knows folks in my area on a first name basis, much less everywhere she goes. Trish is a great asset. Unfortunately, she's moved on, but she's still in the area. One of the big issues, like I was saying, is I think we really need to focus on the safe parking initiative that this council put forward. I think those sites are being underutilized. We went through one of the sites on South Hill, and there were people there, but it definitely wasn't crowded. And as Chair Mello said, a lot of the people that we encountered were living in their vehicles and just trying to find a safe place to live. And that safe parking is open to those individuals. Plus, they can get wraparound services. So I think we really need to focus on our safe parking initiative moving forward. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Morel. That was my big takeaway as well. Thanks for those reflections. Access to bathrooms, access to cooking facilities, all the basics. We, again, our team was focused on shopping centers, and we spent an hour at various different hours at different shopping centers. It was profound. And there's no substitute than doing the outreach ourselves, even if it's one night. There's no substitute for that. And the learning, the firsthand learnings we had and firsthand conversations we had. Thank you to everyone who took part in that. I don't see any other hands. Ms. Long, any other business for council this evening? Seeing no other business before the Pierce County Council, we are adjourned. Have a good night, everybody.
Pierce and King County teamed up with local fire marshals to make the permit process much simpler for these small